because we're going to experience a full moon in Aquarius at 16 degrees and 59 minutes, or 16 degrees, almost 17 degrees, but still considered as 16 degrees. If you want to calculate the Sabian symbolism of this full moon Aquarius, you're going to use 17 degrees, but this full moon technically is still at 16 degrees of Aquarius. So this full moon Aquarius will be the culmination of 6 months effort that we have been putting into whatever we want to achieve in the Aquarius part of our chart since January this year. So this is the culmination. This full moon Aquarius is going to be quite lonely because there's not much direct or precise aspects towards this full moon, except for the sun, of course, right? You have Saturn, Neptune in Aries, Uranus in Gemini, and Mars in Libra, trining by signs, and also trining and sextiling by signs and also by elements, but not necessarily by degrees. So this full moon in Aquarius will highlight the Aquarius part of our chart and the effort that we have been putting in relative to that Aquarius part of our charts in terms of what we want to manifest ever since the new moon Aquarius in January. So this is my take on the effects of this full moon in Aquarius for all 12 rising signs. Okay, for the first rising sign, we will go to Aries rising. This full moon in Aquarius for Aries rising will illuminate their 11th house. This is about friendship, networking, social media, hopes and dreams, and basically your long-term goals. This full moon is highly unusual because there's hardly any major aspects towards this full moon. So this is going to be an internalized full moon, pretty much. But we also need to look at the dispositor or the ruler of this full moon, and the ruler of this full moon, which is Uranus, will be for Aries rising in the sign of Gemini, which is Aries rising's 3rd house. So the full moon will illuminate your 11th house, but surprises could come from Uranus, the ruler of this full moon, from your 3rd house, which is your siblings, your communications, your skills, and also basically this is the house where your intellect play in the way you interact with other people. Okay, for the second rising sign, we will go to Taurus rising. For Taurus rising, this full moon in Aquarius will highlight your 10th house. This is about your career, your public image, your legacy. This is about your achievement. This full moon is highly unusual because it is unaspected, meaning that it doesn't make any aspects towards other planets. So it's going to be internalized. So we have to look also at the ruler of this full moon, which is Uranus in the sign of Gemini. For Taurus rising, Uranus in the sign of Gemini is in your 2nd house. So there's going to be something unexpected could happen related to this full moon from your 2nd house, which is your money house. So just be careful. Okay, for the 3rd rising sign, we will go to Gemini rising. For my Gemini rising friends, this full moon in Aquarius will highlight your 9th house. This is about traveling, adventure. This is about your higher minds, higher learnings, publications. This is basically how you develop your life philosophy. This is where your perception and also the way you look at life is going to be developed. The 9th house is also considered to be one of the lucky house. So this is actually quite a positive full moon for you, my Gemini rising friends. Because this full moon don't have any major aspects towards other planets, then we also need to look at the ruler or dispositor of this full moon, which is Uranus. Uranus is currently in Gemini in your sign, in the 1st house. So surprises could come from you, your decision. So just be considerate of whatever decision you want to make related to this full moon. Okay, for the fourth rising sign, we will go to Cancer rising, the most accurate, followed by Cancer sun and Cancer moon. For my dear Cancer rising's friends, this full moon in Aquarius will highlight your 8th house. This is the house of sex, transformation, intimacy, shared resources, investments. This is the house of crisis, death. Basically, this is the house that most people don't want to deal with, except for the money part of this house. This house is quite heavy. It's also a dark house. So anything taboo also related to this house. So this full moon will highlight those things. This full moon, because it doesn't have any major aspects towards other planets, we also need to look at Uranus, which is the dispositor of this full moon, because it's in Aquarius. The ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. For you, my Cancer rising friends, Uranus is in the 12th house because it's in Gemini. Gemini is your 12th house. So sudden revelation could come for you related to this full moon from your dreams. 12th house is the house of dreams. Sleep, rest is also the house of basically your mental health. So pay attention to your mental health. Okay, for the next rising sign, we will go to Leo rising. For my dear Leo rising friends, this full moon Aquarius will highlight your 7th house. Marriage, relationship, business partnership. So those things will be highlighted by the energy or illuminated by the energy of the full moon. Because this full moon doesn't have any major aspects towards other planets, then the dispositor or the ruler, which is Uranus, you also need to take a look at Uranus. For you, my Leo rising friends, this full moon in your 7th house, the ruler Uranus is in Gemini, your 11th house. So surprises could come from your friends, networking, social media. So the full moon will illuminate the 7th house, but the ruler, surprises could come from the ruler, which is currently in your 11th house. Okay, for the 6th rising sign, we will go to Virgo rising. For my Virgo rising friends, this full moon in Aquarius will highlight your 6th house. This is about health, this is about chores, this is about daily details, daily routines, this is about the details of your career, this is also about your pets, this is also about basically things that you need to get organized in order for it to serve you more. Basically, this is the house where you need to improve things, whether it's your health or your work, right? This full moon will highlight things that you need to improve in Aquarius full moon. But because this full moon doesn't have any major aspects towards other planets, we also need to take a look at the ruler, which is Uranus in Gemini. The Uranus in Gemini for you, Virgo rising, is currently in your 10th house. So your career could be affected unexpectedly by this full moon in the 6th house. Remember, 10th house is career, 6th house is work. Very related to one another. So just be mindful. Okay, for my dear Libra rising friends, the 7th sign, this full moon Aquarius will highlight your 5th house. Because for Libra rising, Aquarius is their 5th house. 5th house is one of the lucky house. This is a house of fun, happiness, romance, relationship, creativity, glamour, gambling. This is also the house that very closely related to children, right? Because this full moon doesn't have any major aspects, it will be internalized, but you also need to take a look at the ruler of this full moon, which is Uranus, which is currently transiting your 9th house in Gemini. So surprises could happen relative or related to your 5th house. Surprises could come from your 9th house. So 9th house is traveling, adventure, philosophy, higher minds, higher learnings. This is also the house of foreign things and foreign lands. So those things could provide surprises related to your 5th house, where the full moon energy is at its maximum. So pay attention. Okay, for the 8th sign, we will go to Scorpio rising, the most accurate, followed by Scorpio sun and Scorpio moon. For my dear Scorpio rising friends, this full moon Aquarius will highlight your 4th house. This is about your family, your homes, your properties, mother, right? This is also about your ancestry, emotional foundation, also in the 4th house. So this full moon Aquarius will highlight those things. Your family will be highlighted. Your emotions, your mother, your properties, your home will also be highlighted. Something there that needs to be tweaked, can be highlighted by this full moon. But because this full moon doesn't have any major aspects towards other planets, then you have to look at the ruler of this full moon, which is Aquarius. The ruler is Uranus. Uranus is currently in Gemini. For my Scorpio rising friends, Gemini is your 8th house. So something could happen suddenly or unexpectedly, or something surprising could happen relative or related to this full moon from your 8th house or 8th house matters, such as transformation, crisis, death, investments. This is the house of sudden wealth, sudden money. Sudden wealth, because this is house of very, very big money. Investments. If you have investments, maybe something surprising could happen relative to this full moon from your investments. So just be careful, be mindful, and just be aware of it. Okay, for the 9th rising sign, we will go to Sagittarius rising. This full moon in Aquarius for Sagittarius rising will happen in your 3rd house. This is the house of siblings, communications, skills, knowledge. This is also the house of short travel, house of gadgets and vehicles, basically. So this full moon will highlight those things. Because this full moon doesn't have any major aspects towards other planets, you also have to look at the ruler or dispositor of this full moon, which is Uranus. Uranus for Sagittarius rising is currently in Gemini, your 7th house. So surprises relative to the 3rd house could come from the 7th house. 7th house is partnership, marriage, business partnership, relationship. So something related to the 3rd house, communication, and 7th house, relationship, could transpire or could connect with each other because of this full moon in Aquarius. Okay, for the 10th rising sign, we will go to Capricorn rising. For my dear Capricorn rising friends, this full moon in Aquarius will highlight your 2nd house, money, resources. So money ventures, whatever you want to achieve or manifest it since the last new moon in Aquarius 6 months ago, the results will trickle in or will be exposed or will be revealed to you by the energy of this full moon in Aquarius in your 2nd house. Because this full moon in Aquarius doesn't have any major aspects, which is unusual, you also have to look at the ruler of this full moon, which is Uranus. Uranus is currently, for you Capricorn rising friends, Uranus is currently in Gemini. Gemini is your 3rd house, because for Capricorn, the 7th house is Cancer, and then Gemini, the 6th house. So health, pets, work, details of daily activities, chores. Those, remember, 6th house is also debt. So because this full moon is in the house of money and the ruler is in the house of debt, so be very, very careful. Surprising things could come from that. So for my Capricorn rising friends, this full moon will highlight your 2nd house of money, and surprises could come from the ruler of this full moon, which is Uranus, in your 6th house of work, health, pets, and debt. Okay, for the 11th sign, we will go to Aquarius rising, the most accurate, followed by Aquarius sun and Aquarius moon. For Aquarius rising friends, this full moon in Aquarius will basically highlight you, your body, your personality, your aura. You are the star of this full moon. So whatever you want to achieve with this full moon, do it. This full moon will also highlight things that you have been trying to manifest within the last 6 months. Whatever it is, then it will be highlighted so you can tweak it, so you can manifest better. Because this full moon is highly unusual, because it doesn't make any major aspects towards other planets, that we also have to look at the ruler. Because you're Aquarius rising and this full moon is in Aquarius, then your ruler is also important, because Uranus is also your ruler. You are the 1st house, you are the star. So the full moon and you are the same. And the ruler, Uranus, is currently in Gemini. For you, Gemini is in your 5th house. So the ruler, Uranus, will provide something unexpected in terms of the 5th house matters that will be connected to this full moon in the 1st house. 5th house is children, fun, hobbies, creativities, and also glamour, gambling. This is the house of happiness, love. So those things could come as a surprise. related or relative or in connection to the full moon in Aquarius in your first house. Okay, for the last rising sign, we will go to Pisces rising, the most accurate, followed by Pisces sun and Pisces moon. For my dear Pisces rising friends, this full moon in Aquarius will highlight your 12th house. So this is the house of sleep, dreams. This is the house of mental health, basically. Because this is a very internalized full moon without any major aspects towards other planets, and it's occurring in the house that is very internalized, in the house that is very secretive, in the house that is very hidden. And you're a Pisces rising, right? The sign that originally ruled the 12th house. So you're quite familiar with this energy of this full moon. You also need to take a look at the ruler of this full moon, which is Uranus. Uranus is currently in Gemini. For my Pisces rising friends, Gemini is your 4th house. Gemini is your 4th house. So this full moon happening in this house of mental health will be related, or something related to this full moon could come from your 4th house, your family, your home, your mother, right? Your properties, something there, your emotional foundation. So both houses are emotional houses. So pay attention to your emotional well-being, but at the same time, because the 12th house also heavily related to mental health, pay also attention not just to your emotions, but also how that emotion is connected to your mental health.